Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. In December 2020, the federal government launched the National Gas Expansion Program aimed at making compressed natural gas the first choice for cheaper and cleaner energy for Nigerians and reducing the country's high reliance on petrol. However, the adoption rate of this technology has been slow due largely to a lack of awareness among citizens. Well, retrofitting a typical auto workshop under the deal, which is found in a filling station, requires an investment of approximately 8 million naira, while building a new CNG station with 4 to 10 dispensers requires an investment of about 500 million naira. Now, the federal government plans to have 1 million CNG vehicles on Nigerian roads by 2027. And according to the Nigerian Gas Association, CNG is suitable for petrol cars, tricycles, vans and lorries, but not petrol generators. This is what will dominate our discussion on NTA Tuesday Live tonight. But before we go into that discussion, let's get to see this report put together by energy correspondent Lydia Sampson.
The use of CNG as a key transport fuel is expected to reduce the cost of fuel and provide Nigerians with cheaper and cleaner alternative fuel. Government is also focused on developing the country's natural gas resources as part of its efforts to key into the global shift from crude oil to gas. As a result, government has put in place measures to ensure there is sufficient gas in the country, including establishing comprehensive regulations for vehicle conversion to compressed natural gas, ensuring adherence to safety standards. The Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas is pioneering the conversion program. Therefore, the journey to cleaner and cheaper fuel is on in earnest, particularly with the inauguration of the compressed natural gas conversion sites in the country. The leadership of the Presidential CNG Initiative reiterates that it is to fast-track federal government's efforts towards targeting the conversion of 1 million CNG-powered vehicles in Nigeria by 2027.
If you consider natural gas processing versus to CNG, versus what it takes for you to produce petrol or diesel, you understand that there's a reason why natural gas as CNG is a lot cheaper than petrol and diesel.
The gas is ours, the nation is ours, 6 million commercial vehicles ours. If we can drive into the middle of those commercial vehicles, then we're able to bring down the cost of transportation for the average Nigerian. And that is what the intention is.
Private sector participation is already being deepened. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is not mincing words in reeling out government's resolve at partnering private sector towards a win-win CNG conversion.
The CNG is the future. We all know that it's going to cut down cost of transportation by about 70% in some cases. And not only that, we also know that it's safer, it's cleaner, it's more conducive, and therefore federal government is championing that.
Key players at the inauguration of ABG CNG Conversion Center in Abuja are optimistic of better economic and cleaner alternative fuel with CNG conversion drive.
We are also partnering with a bank where they can go and open a bank. Once they are registered with us, we will take them to that bank. That bank is willing to also fund them for the conversion kits interest-free. So we have packaging, financial packaging to encourage people to come and use compressed natural gas.
We've trained around 35 Nigerians on the complete process of conversion, installation, maintenance, calibration and everything.
Government and private sector conversion centers are already being inaugurated across the country, and more Nigerians are being trained on the conversion process, which involves installing an aftermarket CNG kit, including components such as air gas mixer, pressure regulator, high pressure line, CNG filling valve, and CNG tank and selector switch. Trainees, however, say the conversion process requires careful consideration and expertise.
We've had series of theoretical and practical training sessions around how to install CNG in a PMS car. One of the things that we've learned so far is that today CNG is actually a cleaner gas. Okay, what that means is that it's friendly to the environment.
Experts reiterate that vehicle owners must ensure that the petrol car is compatible with the CNG kit and that they must purchase a genuine CNG kit from authorized dealer. While converting a petrol car into a CNG car comes with several benefits such as lower operational costs and significantly lower vehicle emissions, there are some challenges as well. These include lack of CNG refueling stations, increased weight, and compressed space at the boot storage. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's now introduce our guest. We'd like to welcome to this program Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi. He's the Program Director, Presidential CNG Initiative. Thanks for being with us tonight.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Right. Let me also welcome to this program Abubakar Megandi Shettima. He's the President of IPMAN. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you.
Right. We're also here with Dr. Mohammed Bawa. He's the Managing Director, ABG Oil and Gas Limited. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
And then we're also here with Dr. Brian Amonu. He's Managing Director, Gas Analytics and Solutions Limited.
Good evening.
Brian, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, as you all know, at some point in time, the program gets interactive and you can join in our discussion, but at that time we'll remind you of the process and the procedure. Tonight, you know, it's going to be an interesting time as we talk about the compressed natural gas and energy transformation issues. But let's start straight away by finding out the potential benefits of this CNG, Nigeria's energy transformation, the compressed natural gas. And let's start with the Program Director of the CNG Initiative.
Thanks once again for having me. And it's a pleasure to join you on this program this evening. Very well, the Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, as you know, was empaneled by Mr. President upon the removal of the fuel subsidy. On the July 31st speech, he stated that it was necessary that the nation move to a cheaper form of energy for transportation, and that the compressed natural gas, given that Nigeria is one of the most bountifully endowed country in the world, with between the 7th or 8th largest gas reserves in the world, but the largest gas reserves in Africa, should be running its transportation system on gas. Gas is abundant in Nigeria. It is cheaper, it is more reliable, it is safer, and of course it is cleaner. So those combined benefits, the simple fact is that if there's an international crisis today, be it political or military, Nigerians are made to pay more at the pump through no fault of theirs. But if we move the nation to a gas economy, to a resource that we produce and we price in our local currency, which could be gas, then it is possible for us to delink what Nigerians pay at the pump, which invariably impacts the standard of living and the cost of transportation, the cost of food, inflation. About 16 to 17% of the CPI is based on driven by transportation. And so if we're able to reduce that cost, then we reduce the rate of inflation generally of goods, of food, of agricultural produces, of consumer products. And that is good for the economy. Every nation will be endowed with certain economic advantage. And in the case of Nigeria, that should be energy. Nigeria is bountifully endowed with cheap gas resources as well as several other sources of energy. And it's high time Nigeria begins to leverage this advantage in order to increase our productivity, reduce our cost relative to other countries in the world, to make our economy more competitive. That's the determination of Mr. President when he empaneled the Presidential CNG Initiative, which I'm privileged to help manage.
Okay. Well, we'll go into greater detail as we go on, but let's get the views of the IPMAN president here about the benefits of the CNG initiative.
Well, the benefit of CNG initiative cannot be overemphasized. It's a very good program, and we recommended the government for bringing this kind of program, especially in a situation whereby there is no subsidy. So by the introduction of the CNG, definitely we independent petroleum marketers, it will assist us to see that we cover most of our filling station. And it's a great benefit to us. One, we have the highest numbers retail outlet nationwide in the industry. And for that, since the time when they removed the subsidy, actually when Mr. President launched the issue of the CNG, we accepted the program and we key into the program. Already, we partner with the NIPCO PLC. They are already in the program. They have some CNG filling station, and we too are partnering again with like analytic energy, whereby we wanted to see that we partner with them so that we can be able to construct some inside our retail outlets, to have a daughter filling station inside our filling station. Because as you know now, the PMS is cost. Most of the people are trying to run away from buying the PMS. But by the use of the CNG, definitely it will change the scenario because it's not cost compared to the PMS.
Okay. Thanks a lot. And well, the same question will go to Dr. Mohammed Ba. And it's still talking about the comparative advantage and benefits of the CNG initiative to Nigeria, especially at this time when virtually all citizens are groaning under high transportation costs. Doesn't matter whether it's a private or commercial.
True. Just like the two speakers before me have said, the benefits of CNG, especially at this time, and like you have pointed, is cannot be overemphasized. CNG is a game changer. That is our slogan. It is a game changer in the transportation and the livelihoods of Nigeria in general, because Nigerians depend highly on transportation, whether it's for food, for people, for goods. Transportation is a very pivotal factor in every Nigerian's life. So CNG coming into play now is something that is a good thing, and the savings, like we've always reiterated, is enormous. More than 60% is what we expect, every Nigerian expects to save, which will translate into the livelihood of Nigerians. Because if you can transport food cheaper, the food will be cheaper at the end of the day, and so as well for goods and services.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. We come to Brian Amonu, the MD of Gas Analytics and Solutions Limited, and again, the same issues about the benefits, the advantages, and what we are looking at bringing in CNG at this time.
Sure, thank you. Just like my fellow panelists have mentioned, the benefits of CNG, I don't even know where to start. So, but I'd like to add that we knew the day would come when CNG would be the only solution to fuel subsidy removal. So we pursued a relationship with Ipman very, very early on. In fact, the day we signed the agreement to partner with Ipman to co-locate CNG on their existing network of over 30,000 active and inactive stations, we got an audience with the former president to let him know that Ipman is ready. Should the government decide to remove subsidy, Ipman will be there to work with the governments to ensure that Nigerians in every nook and cranny of this country will benefit from the deployment of CNG, right? So in addition to Ipman having the largest infrastructure as far as retail space is concerned, when you go to a filling station, for example, to buy petrol, LPG, diesel, you're not just paying for the cost of that product, you're paying the investment cost. So if government, for example, were to decide to build new CNG stations across the country, they will have to buy land, build new infrastructure, and when you come to buy CNG, you're going to pay for the cost of that new land, you're going to pay for the cost of that infrastructure, whereas with Ipman, you don't have to do that because they already have land, they already have infrastructure. Secondly, CNG has serious national security implications. What am I talking about? Insecurity is a challenge in almost every state in the country. No one is talking about it. Oga, when you call police to respond to an incident, what do they tell you? We don't have fuel, right? Even during the fuel subsidy era. So let's agree that CNG will offer a cheaper alternative to even support security logistics. Who is best positioned to deliver this CNG? Ipman. The other benefit also of Ipman participating in the CNG game is gas is an economy of scale works for gas. Ipman station owners are going out of business. Most of their members can no longer afford the cost of a tanker. And when they buy one tanker, instead of reselling that tanker in 2 or 3 days, sometimes even a month, they are still sitting on that petroleum produce. So with a lot of the filling stations shutting down, potentially you could put 1 million, 2 million people out of work. But CNG offers them a lifeline. So yes, we support the decision that Mr. President took to have a national rollout for CNG.
Okay, now that we've all reeled out the benefits, the advantages of this, then I suppose the next place to go to is to find out just how far this initiative has gone. Because we talk about it, everyone would say, how far, so far? Where are we now with this initiative?
Absolutely. First, the initiative was empaneled by Mr. President upon the initial instruction to the palliative committee that was then led by the Chief of Staff. By Independence Day speech, he directed the setting up of a steering committee under the leadership of the executive chairman of the FIRS, Mr. Zach Adedeji, and 6 other members to have the initiative up and running. The mandate of the initiative of the PCNGI, the Presidential CNG Initiative, is 3. 1 is to incentivize the adoption of compressed natural gas for transportation for mobility across the country. 2 is to facilitate investment to close the gap in infrastructure, which you noted that had led to the slow uptake of CNG prior to this period. And 3 is to develop and establish a regulatory framework to ensure zero incidents in the sector, in order to ensure that we do not have any kind of accidents as which related to the adoption, either via conversion or adoption of CNG-driven platforms. With respect to these, of course, naturally we went into the planning mode. The detailed planning have been done and have been rolled out. In addition to this, in the last 3 months, since the implementation of the initiative, the President approved the emergency procurement of platforms, about 11,500 of them, and this is already being implemented as we speak. Several of CNG buses, tricycles are being manufactured as we speak. Almost all of them will be assembled in country, in Nigeria, so it's not just creating jobs at the back end in the transportation or in the fueling sector, but also creating jobs in the automotive sector of Nigeria. Secondly, procurement of the conversion kits that will enable the conversion of existing PMS vehicles to CNG, because there are two routes you can go. One, you can adopt this already existing biofuel, which is PMS and CNG driven platforms, or you can convert existing platforms, which we already have about between 14 to 20 million vehicles in the country already that are running on PMS. So we also are pursuing that strategy of helping folks convert existing vehicles to biofuel. Those vehicles will not just be exclusively running on CNG, but they will still continue to be able to utilize petrol in the meantime while we are catching up with the CNG infrastructure. So that is being done as we speak as well. But even more importantly is that you need to now set up the conversion centers. And so within the month of October, November, and December, we're able to so far triple the number of conversion centers the country have. And we continue to do that at a pace every month. Our goal is to at least double the conversion already. Yes.
How many you say?
So when we started this program, we had less than 6 conversion centers nationwide. Today, there are about over 22 of them that is on that.
22.
Yes, and we continue to grow that number.
Well, there are some key issues arising from this, and talked about the kids and all that. But I'm more concerned about the regulatory framework.
Yep.
Which leads, of course, into this question of proper setting up of these conversion centers. And we're looking here at vehicles that are petrol-driven and they are being converted. There's a huge challenge, if you agree with me, in this conversion process about ensuring safety standards. And the very first time the idea of CNG came in, the first question most people asked was, how safe is gas? We've seen where accidents have occurred with auto vehicles, with explosions, leakages, things like that, brother. And knowing that we're going into conversion now, these are not going to be vehicles that originally have been fitted to run on CNG, and we do know the level of skills in so many areas. In fact, in areas that we have been familiar with for years, and this, to all intents and purposes, is new, quite new. So this regulatory framework is what we're concerned about. How robust is it?
The work on it is quite advanced. If you recall, last month, the Standards Organization of Nigeria impaneled an interagency regulatory development committee to come up with the final standards for the compressed natural gas conversion in the country. SON has the regulatory mandate, the mandate as a Standards Organization of Nigeria to do this. But even beyond that, we also set up an intergovernmental committee ourselves, working with SON, to ensure the implementation of the standards that is now being finalized. We expect that standards to be finally issued sometimes in the next 30 days. But beyond the issuance of that standard is how do you implement that standard? And we are creating the operating environment. So we've made remarkable progress in the last 60 days in this direction. But first thing first, I also have to say that you are very right that the process of conversion itself has to be policed because we do not want quacks to get in the business and then endanger the entire ecosystem. One incident will be too much for the ecosystem to handle. So we want a zero incidence regulatory approach. But beyond that is to also say, and to allay the fears of the public, to say that natural gas is far more safer form of fueling your vehicle than petrol. The ignition point of the flash point for gas, for natural gas, is much higher than petrol. A gas vehicle also, in addition to the fact that natural gas upon contact or release to the air is much lighter than air, so it dissipates much faster. Petrol is retained and therefore can fuel explosion. So most of the explosion you will see when you talk about vehicle accidents will be petrol vehicles. Whenever they get into accident, they explode. But in natural gas, number one, the natural gas itself is encased in a 10 millimeter thick non-extruded cylinder, which means that there's no welding where it can break and where it can permeate. It's made as a whole cylinder extruded, and it's 10 millimeter thick, bulletproof, and goes through what's common tests, including bulletproof test. And so it is encased in a safe cylinder. if it is you are not patronizing quacks, if you are patronizing them proper. So all of these things are the checks that will be in place. But CNG as it is far more safer form of fueling your vehicle than petrol. But what we now need to ensure is that everybody works within the proper regulatory framework, and we make it also responsive to the market. We do not want a regulatory framework that will hamper the growth of the market. At the same time, while we're doing that, we want to ensure zero incidents, and that's the approach we're taking to regulation.
Okay, we'll explore that further, but let me take this issue to the Ipman president. And since they say they have the largest retail outlets in the country, and they're participating in this project, this initiative, where you might now find these CNG located within your stations, which are already in existence. And again, it is the question of safety and all that. So how far you said you've entered into agreements with gas analytics. Tell us how far these agreements have gone. Safety, the watchword.
Well, in fact, just the way I tell you, we independent petroleum marketers already we are part of NIPCO because we have the highest share in NIPCO. Almost 3,000 of our members are shareholders in NIPCO. And as you know, even NNPC, they get their gas through NIPCO. They are making analysis the way they can be able to start operating their filling station under NIPCO. And we two independent marketers, we are still partnering with them, and we have even started making some negotiations whereby they will support us in constructing this ad hoc in our various filling stations. So presently, we started getting license for the ad hoc construction. And just what is seriously worrying us is in terms of finance, because the project is a little bit very cost. Okay. We have the land generally, but the financial issue is what is hindering us from making those ad hoc filling stations in our various filling stations.
Well, Dr. Mohammed Bawa, I'll come to you on a different platform. Seeing that you have already started playing in this industry by way of training, one of the reports we had there as we started this program actually showed you training. And that is key to the issues I raised with the project director here. You're training. First, let's start by how many people have you trained so far? And let's know the level and the depth of that training.
Thank you. Like you rightly said, we started with training because we believe you have to put the cart before the horse. And for safety reasons, you have to ensure that the people know what they are doing. Just like Engineer Michael has stated, just to emphasize, the flash point of natural gas, CNG, is almost 600 degrees Celsius. So that's way, 6 times boiling point of water. So the possibility, because we've had this thing you have said, people keep saying how it will explode and all that. So we said, no, it's 600 degrees Celsius. That is the flash point of natural gas. That is number one. Like Engineer Michael has also said, it is lighter than air. So for whatever reason, whether it's from the pipe or from anywhere, there happen to be a leakage, it will just evaporate and go up, which is different from what will happen with PMS, because PMS will stay, and that's why it explodes. So we want to reassure Nigerians that safety-wise, CNG is the way to go. Back to the issue of training. We have trained 35 technically oriented people, Nigerians, and we have trained 5 marketing oriented people, making a total of 40. We did that because it's not only about being technically sound and doing the work. You have to have the people who will tell Nigerians what it's all about. And these people we have trained, we've done what we call trained trainees. So they are going to be able to train Nigerians. So it's going to be an exponential thing. These people, the trainees, the trainers, 3 of them have trained 40, 40 will train 120, and it keeps going geometrically, and it will go as far as CNG is covered in Nigeria.
Let me expand this further. I'm looking at the scenario I'm looking at. Let's take the example of having the technicians, the mechanics who work on our cars everywhere. There are established garages, but not everybody. A very small proportion of the motoring public can afford those garages. So they end up with mechanics, some that are referred to as roadside mechanics, people who go through an apprenticeship scheme who are not properly certificated, as you find in other, even neighboring African countries here. And so there's no form of certification stating that this individual has attained this level of proficiency in maintaining a vehicle. Now, we're starting up something to convert petrol engines to CNG vehicles, and we're training people. What form of certification would be available for that in the first place? And how do we ensure that if these trainers are going to replicate the training they have received, we will not end up finding an apprenticeship scheme that is not certificated and thereby multiplying half-baked technicians around who would of course be cheaper than those established CNG conversion centers, and many motorists would go there to convert. We are still going to come to the question of how much it would take to convert a petrol car to CNG. But let's hear this part first.
It's a good point. As has been already mentioned, regulatory frameworks are being put in place. So that will take care of a governmental regulatory certification. On our part, these trainees that we trained, we have certified them. And the good thing about CNG, it's very easy to know if a job has been done properly or not, because there are testing points, how you can check if there are any leakages and if there are anything that goes wrong along the value chain. It's a very simple method of checking to ensure that there is no problem. That is one. Number 2, like I said before, these trainees will train Nigerians. We have them, apart from the marketing people that we have, the technical people come in 3 different groups. You have the people who do the piping, you have the people who work on the engine, and then you have the people who work with the computer to set the system entirely to operate maximally efficiently. So every team of CNG installers will comprise of somebody who is doing the computerization, somebody who is doing the piping work, and somebody who is doing the engine fitting, and the welding man who does the brackets and putting of the cylinders in the trunk of the car. So it's a team effort. And when you finish all that, it will be inspected. Like I said, if there's any problem along the line, it is easy to see where the problem is.
Yeah, I just want to mention something. I had mentioned the standards is one, but the operation of the standard is equally important. Yes. So what we're doing is we're setting up a digitally enforceable system, right from the point of the trainee, the equipment vis-a-vis the kits, and ultimately the conversion workshops where this conversion is taking place. All of them will be subject to this regulatory framework. And ultimately, how the vehicles get refilled, if the vehicle gets refilled, will be only for vehicles that have complied with all of this stuff. This is very easy because the discharge of hydrocarbon that ultimately will be utilized by this vehicle is regulated by the NMPDRA, which was the merger of DPR and the PEF and former PPRA. Right. It's now the midstream, downstream regulatory authority. So if you're an NMPDRA accredited and regulated station, whether mobile or stationary, you will not discharge CNG to vehicles that are not under compliance. And I'm saying that delicately, because when I say under compliance, it is possible for you to be compliant at the beginning and then get out of compliance. Because part of the regulatory framework is that vehicles have to go through periodic inspections, as my colleagues understand. Every 2 years or 3 years, your tanks have to be checked, your lines have to be checked, everything has to be checked to be fine. And we are also bringing not just an NPDRA on the enforcement side, we're also working with the FRSC, the Federal Road Safety Commission, that has the mandate for road safety. And what that allows us to do is that in addition to not just if you're a CNG vehicle, you will have some kind of unique identification that we also will be asked of you periodically when you are stopped. Is your vehicle just the way they will check your fire extinguisher, or they will check all of the other things you will be carrying on? Is your vehicle under regulatory guideline? Is it still under that framework covered and compliant? So we are creating that system. It will take, like I said, 30 days for the standards to be out, maybe another 30 days after that for us to have a pilot to be up and running. And like I said, it's going to start from the technical training, which we are going to be working with our partners. And we will ensure and working with a national institution, the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technologies, that is leading in the area of technical training and accreditation, working with the Nigerian Board of Technical Education to ensure that we have proper accreditation for trainees in place. So when your conversion is done, you will be registering. I'm doing this conversion by an accredited technician at an accredited workshop at a period of time or a bounded period of time within compliance. And only then, and using equipment that has been certified by Standard Organization of Nigeria and registered in the database, only then will you be able to go into an NMPDRA regulated station to get CNG. So it's going to be a self-policing digital system.
Well, at this point in time, we have some reports, and we'll start taking them. Let's begin with this one from Lagos.
As part of ways of addressing the challenges that come with the removal of fuel subsidy, the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative inaugurated a compressed natural gas vehicle pilot conversion center in Lagos on 29th of October 2023. As government continues to replicate such center in other parts of the country, experts say Nigerians will no longer worry about fuel subsidy removal as CNG is cheaper.
Nigeria is going to, be better off when it comes to revenue generation. We all said that Nigeria has been, a gas heaven that mistakenly discovered oil. And if we want to make very good use of this, CNG, it's going to make, Nigeria to be economically viable.
This, experts say, will reduce the rate of unemployment as both skilled and unskilled job openings will be created, in addition to generating conducive business environment for MSMEs to thrive.
The intention is to continue to ensure affordability, to ensure that we drive domestic gas demands by bringing policies that make this affordable, make this possible for all Nigerians.
Data shows that over 5 million cars ply Lagos roads daily. This contributes to carbon emission from factories and industries in the state. The effects of climate change are becoming real each day, and world leaders as well as climate experts are advocating the use of eco-friendly sources of energy to address the problem.
CNG is cleaner. during the whole combustion process, when CNG is used for transportation, it releases much less greenhouse gas emissions. So it's friendlier to the environment. It's extremely eco-friendly.
The establishment of a CNG conversion center in Lagos is commendable, as it is projected to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the state by 70%. In Lagos, Hinginu, John Adams.
All right, from Lagos we go to Maiduguri, where this report comes from.
Compressed natural gas, CNG, according to experts, is a cleaner burning fuel, leading to reduced emissions of pollutants, contributing to cleaner air and mitigating climate change. It is often more cost-effective than conventional fuels, offering potential economic advantages for consumers and businesses alike.
CNG can be used in homes, commercial areas like industries, and mainly for vehicle fueling. So mainly it does a lot, and we have the availability of it in the industry in terms of storage, as in, the availability that we can retrieve, and we make use of that. Currently, gas plant in Maiduguri, initiative from His Excellency and NNPC headed by Karimele, is using CNG for our electricity. So it's combating the electricity, it's using the electricity as a foil to give us the light in Maiduguri.
Its utilization in transportation is growing, driven by its cost efficiency and lower emissions, aligning with global trends towards sustainable mobility and cleaner urban air, and cost savings for transit agencies, fostering sustainable and efficient public transportation.
Anytime when the name gas is mentioned, people stay away from it. But I assure the general public that the CNG is safe for usage.
Aiming to reduce emissions and comply with international environmental regulations, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum had late last year procured 100 CNG-powered buses and 50 electric taxis, which was launched by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu for commercial purposes within the states.
The economic efficiency, whereby reducing the cost of fuels and promoting the cleaner energy alternatives. So this is a very good initiative for us.
To support widespread adoption of CNG, experts say it requires investment in refueling stations and distribution networks, in addition to public awareness and education programs, which are essential to inform consumers, businesses and policymakers about the benefit of CNG and its role in sustainable energy transformation. In Maiduguri, Paul Nkujevana.
All right, at this point we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on the CNG initiative, and at that time we'll open the phone lines, and that means you can join in the conversation in the studio. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experienced it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. It's still compressed natural gas and energy transformation issues. That's what we're talking about today. And I did say that after the break, we would open the phone lines and then you can join in the conversation. Let me just say this quickly. If you're calling in tonight, and your call gets through. By the way, the numbers to call will be on your screen. So if you're calling in tonight and your call gets through to the studio, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the echo or the hurlback. And we say this every Tuesday. If you get through to us, we ask you not to bother too much about the greetings. Just a simple hello would do. And we ask that you keep it short and simple, straight to the point, so others can also get on the platform and we can all have a robust discussion. We'll start off with another of our reports, this one from Benin.
Being one of the pilot states for the initiative that commenced in 2007, motorists in Edo State are among the early adopters of CNG. Conversion of vehicles at the initial rollout was almost at no cost, yet acceptability was low, according to an operator who spoke off camera. However, those who have embraced the initiative in the state are reaping the benefits, which they said include prolonged engine life, slow combustion, and low price per liter.
The fuel system is burning, while this one is economical, burning little.
7 or 8 years now we have been using this CMG. It's better than fuel. We are enjoying it. It's very, very good.
When I bought my first vehicle, I said Audi Heg. So I used gas for more than 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I also transferred the same gas. That's why I transferred to this second vehicle that I'm using, Audi Wagon. It's very good. We are enjoying it.
The gas is more better from now more than fuel. Because the fuel driver you use it, they don't see money, nothing that they are saying. So it's like I just labor a vein for fuel issue. So that's why many people now they are switching to gas.
The demand for CNG has been on the increase since the federal government removed fuel subsidy in 2023, and Edo State government is taking advantage of its abundant gas resources to harness the product for low-cost transportation, power generation, and industrial purposes.
Edo State is one of the leading states that have more of gas in Nigeria. And as a state, we have our master plan, working with the federal government to make sure we commercialize this structure. So for us, we have gone ahead of that state, even 10 years ahead of that state in this commercialization, and also decarbonization of the process. That's why we have renewable energy programs ongoing now, so that we can use it to do a backup project for us.
The state government is also encouraging more motorists and residents to adopt compressed natural gas to enjoy the enormous benefits inherent in it as the energy of the future. In Benin, Jude Abugu.
All right, from Benin to Kaduna, this next report comes from Kaduna.
It is a period manufacturers in Nigeria are thinking outside the box to get an alternative source of energy. The diesel and petrol they use in powering their machines and movement of their vehicles are expensive since the removal of fuel subsidy. But the nation's billions of naira gas expansion projects is believed to turn things around to supply gas through pipelines to households and industries, in addition to a number of CNG buses supplied to ease the hardships.
For Nigeria, it's about just energy transition. There's a lot of money that is floating in the global space that will come in, not just to develop the infrastructure, but also provide the conversion kits for ordinary Nigerians, but also to make these vehicular platforms running on CNG, biofuel, I have to say, to be available. Let me say this. All the vehicles that we are bringing in are going to biofuel. They're going to be running on both CNG and petrol, such that if you're in an area where there are no PMS, where there is no CNG, you can also fill in your PMS and continue your journey. And then as soon as you find a cheaper fuel, which is CNG, you can use it, and the switch is automatic.
Engineer Sani Lamido is the head of Department of Petroleum and Gas Processing of Kaduna Polytechnic.
Yeah, actually using compressed natural gas as alternative to PMS is a welcome idea, even though the transformation is slow and is expected, because people will always kick for new innovations. The government is really doing their best to see that this transformation really speed up.
He says the maximum utilization of the abundant gas Nigeria is blessed with will promote economic growth in the country.
The market for compressed natural gas, if explodes, it will be boom. as the president said, that he is promising Nigerians that there will be an economic boost when we completely shift from PMS, because PMS has a lot of things beside the cost to compress natural gas.
As the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu keeps investing in the gas sector for optimal utilization of the products, individuals and industries are now taking the advantage, converting their machines to use compressed natural gas. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Marajingi.
All right, having had the benefit of those reports and the numerous issues that have been raised, we'll return to the studio here. And just before we took that break and before we ran the last two reports, we were discussing issues of safety and availability. And at this point, we'll bring in Brian Amonu of Gas Analytics and Solutions. Yes.
Yes, I would like to add quickly to buttress a point that the Ipman president made, and that is Ipman's partner NIPCO has been in the CNG business since 2007 in Nigeria. So over 15 years, there hasn't been any incident that has to do with CNG bottles exploding. It's important to point this out. This is a fact, it's not an opinion. See, for 15 years, you can see from the report that came out of Edo, a lot of those vehicles are old, but notwithstanding, because of proper fitting, there hasn't been a single incident of a CNG vehicle exploding in Nigeria. And furthermore, when you see Dangote trucks driving down the road, the green bottles behind the deck is actually CNG, right? Another evidence to support the safety of CNG in the country. And we are also working with NITT to ensure that the standards that PCNGI will soon release will be implemented in terms of conversion, safety, and certification, which is specifically, we're targeting Ipman stations that have auto bays to also serve as conversion centers. So in addition to Ipman having the largest network that can support the deployment of CNG in every nook and cranny, Ipman also has the largest network that can support conversion centers. So even if Ipman stations converted just one vehicle a day, they could convert over 30,000 vehicles in one day. And why you need that to happen? So natural gas is mostly abundant in the southern part of Nigeria, right? So if we focus our attention in developing CNG in the south, what will happen to the yam coming from Benue State to the south? What will happen to the cattle coming from Katsina and Borno to the south, right? So while you're enjoying the benefits of CNG in the south, the cost of cattle might cost 100,000 in Borno, but because it's being transported on 1,300 naira a liter diesel, when it gets to the south is 2 million naira. So with Ipman, it allows for a more equitable CNG deployment because the federal government owes its citizens access to affordable energy. That is why when politicians campaign, they don't say, I'm going to reduce the price of iPhone 14. No, they promise that they will reduce the price of fuel, electricity, etc., etc., etc. So with Ipman being present in every nook and cranny of the country, Nigerians in Kebbi, where there's no gas, in Sokoto, where there's no gas, have the opportunity to enjoy this cheap transport. The same time, the Nigerian that lives in Akwa Ibom, where there's abundant gas, will be enjoying it.
All right, thank you so much. There's one issue which, any of you gentlemen could answer that, but perhaps the program director here would be in a better position. Just give us, what's the estimated cost of a conversion of a four-seater sedan from petrol to CNG?
So you are testing my engineering economics.
Exactly.
I'm an engineer, so I like to be very accurate. The correct answer to your question is it varies. However, we do have an idea that a typical vehicle, a 4-cylinder vehicle, will probably cost you anything from 350,000 naira to up to 750,000 naira in Nigeria today, given the cost of parts, and because we do not manufacture the kits required in country, and especially the cylinders that go into it. And of course, that price also varies.
Okay.
When you get to 6-cylinder, 6-valve engines, or 8-valve engine, and all of that stuff.
All right.
So there's a range.
Okay, we'll come to that range. But
cost,
already we have a caller on the line. Umar from Birnin Kebbi, I believe. Yes.
Hello,
yes, Umar Anachi, I guess.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Umar Anachi, calling from the NTA.
Go ahead.
You see, on this compressed natural gas, I'm not impressed about the way the independent marketers handle the situation, because it seems as if they don't want to partner with the with the government to bring support, to bring something that would bring subsidy to markets. Let me tell you one example. Here in the market, we have only 2 cooking gas stations. That of Aeron, and there is one of Bongarawa. Only those 2 we have for now in the liquid, while we have more than 1,000 filling stations, petroleum stations in the liquid. So you can see the gap. You can see the participation. You can see the turnout, the level of interest of the marketers when it comes to compressed natural gas. Having said that, I want you to assure Nigerians, based on the attitude of Nigerians, I nonchalant attitude to our people, what of the safety measures can you assure Nigerians that this compressed natural gas will not explode here and there, just like the one that we have in Lagos a few days ago or a few months ago, where the compressed natural gas explode and it is made. What measures can you assure Nigerians that such kind of things will not happen? And I want independent marketers to assure Nigerians that they will participate fully and they will bring something like subsidy to Nigeria. May God continue to bless our country. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Umar Anachi. Well, I'd like to split the issues. First, you talked about IPMAN not cooperating. We do have the IPMAN president here, and that's a part of the discussion we've been having all day long. And you could also, if you followed us all along, you would also have heard Brian Amonu of Gas Analytics also speak about it. But however, these 2 gentlemen are here. They will respond to what you have just said about non-cooperation of independent petroleum marketers. And then the issue of safety also has been talked about, but I'll give that to the program director. But first, let Ipman respond to the issues you raised.
Well, my friend, just as you have said, you said there is only 2 LPG filling stations. Actually, in Birnin Kebbi, there is more than 20 LPG filling stations. And that one is LPG. And LPG is not the same thing with the CNG. This CNG is the one that we are going to use for our vehicle for movement. So we cooperate with the government. Just maybe if you listen to me carefully, you know this program is just a 1-year program. And I thank God you talk about the safety. It's not just an issue is entirely different from the petrol filling station. CNG is very, very cost. It requires huge amount of money before you construct an outlet. That is the reason why you have been seeing the program to us independent petrol marketers is a little bit very slow. But because of our hard working, that is the reason why you see now we are partnering with other stakeholders so that we can be able to see how our members will start constructing this CNG filling station. And I assure you, with our present partners now, if we get an enabling environment by the government, definitely you will see how we can key in into the program. Because it's only independent petroleum marketers, I know they can fast track the movement of this CNG. So immediately when we get an actual support through the government, definitely it's our business because we are after profit. Definitely that is the reason why you have been seeing, as you have mentioned that before in Birnin Kebbi, when there is no independent petroleum marketers, we have only 2 or 3 filling stations. But now, because of the independent petroleum marketers, we have so many filling stations. Likewise, very soon, you will see a lot of CNG filling stations in Birnin Kebbi. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well,
I'd like to add.
Okay, just, yeah.
So, regarding the 8 man's participation in CNG, like I mentioned earlier, last year, we wrote to the former President Buhari and met with him personally. It was my first time meeting the president. Why did we meet the president? We went to tell him that our company and the independent petroleum marketers have executed an agreement to co-locate CNG. This is way before anyone started talking about subsidy removal. So APMAN has been at the forefront of advocating for CNG before the subsidy removal. Secondly, the other advantage of working with APMAN, besides having a presence in every nook and cranny of it, is economy of scale. So the program we're putting together with the African Development Bank is such that if, Cyril, for example, you are a kit seller, ABG Group comes to you and places an order for 2,000 kits. APMAN members and us, with over 10,000 members, place an order with you for 1 million kits. We will get the discount that he will not get. That discount will be passed on to the consumer. When we were invited by the former Minister of Finance to address the former CBN governor, the GMD, this was 2 months before President Tinubu took over. Even Mr. Waledu was there to represent the incoming administration. What I told everyone seated there is that the 250 billion conversion to support gas utilization should be provided to Nigerians. If you go to Benin and ask any of those people buying gas at the station, why aren't your friends converting their vehicle? The number one response they will tell you is they don't have the money. I went to Benin and interviewed them. They don't have the money. We told CBN governor, the then CBN governor, the Minister of Finance, provide funding to support Omar in Birnin Kebbi, to support the keke driver in Lagos, and it will be a lot easier for APMAN to build out the infrastructure to respond to a market that exists.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Well, we have another caller on the line. Moses, is this still there?
Yes.
Moses from Abuja. Right, go ahead quickly. Right, thank you for staying on. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I want to appreciate the president for the efforts on the PhD and also the efforts of the people at least in trying to implement the project or the program. So I want to also add that now is going rather a bit slow. Because travel a lot within the country, and there are places or there are states where these CNG stations have not gotten to till now. Either the implementation or even the flagging up of anything, the head of this program, I think I know the time they flagged up to one of Katsina, but there are so many states that are not aware. This thing hasn't taken place. That is one. Two, and as I said, I'm also looking at the present administration looking outside the CNG. The world has passed this level of CNG. At least in the COP28 that the just concluded prohibitions in Dubai, or in Qatar also. Where we can see that there are other sorts of energy that we should be concentrating on. You understand? But yes, is good, but electric buses to electric cars, electric so that as CNG is coming, these other ones will be able to help. And I think it will be good for the economy. Thank you. That's what my contribution.
Right. Thank you very much. So quickly, the program director of the PCNGI will respond to this, as well as the area safety issues.
Yes. So in defense of Ipman, I have to say that they've been quite forthcoming in working with us to ensure we breach the infrastructure gap. I think what everybody's concerned about is how do we get CNGs to as many places, nook and crannies of Nigeria as quickly as possible. The key two components of doing that is one, gas supply and availability, which is primarily going to be unlocked by building the gas infrastructure master plan, the backbone of which is the ongoing construction of the AKK pipeline that is bringing gas from the south to the north. And thanks to the leadership of the immediate past president, that project is on track, and this president is fully committed, working with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to ensure the rapid completion of the AKK pipeline. Once the AKK pipeline is live, gas will have moved to the hinterlands, and then the reticulated last mile distribution pipeline that can bring gas to the doorsteps of Benekebi and Meduguri and Taraba and Sokoto, and will then be available. The second constraint, of course, is investment. And this December, actually, just before Christmas, we hosted the first CNG Investor Summit. And there's quite increased interest in investing in the sector. So Ipman cannot by itself do it alone. Ipman is only the last mile. Ipman will have to receive gas from CNG processors that will be depending on mother stations and daughter stations that's feeding up an infrastructure, which is the pipeline systems for gas. So that is that. In terms of safety, LPG, well, it talked about some explosions in Lagos. That is not CNG. Liquefied petroleum gas is what he's talking about, not compressed natural gas. The sources are different, even though both of them are gas, and it should not be confused. Liquefied petroleum gas is a product of petroleum processing and refining, and as a result of it, it has characteristics that are much more closely related with PMS than the actual natural gas. It does have a different flash point. It contains elements that are primarily propane and butane, whereas ethane and methane as the primary component of CNG. So two different substances, scientifically different. My engineering has again.
Clearly,
and so the explosion
issue
does not come up. It's not CNG,
but LPG.
And then speaking to this current, I think I've spoken to the slow adoption issue and why it is so. But every good thing starts slowly, but we will eventually catch up. The reality is that we've been talking about adopting gas as a country for our transportation system for many, many years. But what I can assure my viewers and Nigerian people for whom we work is that this president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is absolutely committed. Not just committed to the theory. He is a man, of course, of this industry, having been worked for ExxonMobil himself, and he understands critically that Nigeria is a gas country that needs to utilize gas for economic development. And so there's a political commitment, and I think that is what may have been missing in the past. But now there's a real political commitment by the president to ensuring that this becomes a reality. The budget reflects it. He has committed 100 billion last year, another 130 billion this year to this program. And it will continue to implement it to ensure that rapid adoption of these gas policy for transportation. Last but not least, there was a mention of EVs. You will care to know that part of this program is not just CNG, even though we are primarily talking about CNG. There's a small part of this program that is focused on EVs. And in fact, the president, during this COP28 that was held in Dubai, announced that Nigeria today, as a result of this investment, will be bringing in 100 EVs, which will be the largest in one single country in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa in one fell swoop. And we hope to also increase that incrementally as we move forward in this program.
Right. Our next caller is Fawaz.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ate, I'm really I would like to start that Nigerian eager get their vehicle CNG, but we must appeal to the government to subsidize the conversion for that. Because it's not the new one, so we shouldn't be paying so much for this conversion. Again, I also some kind of government what we get in terms of LPG. Because there is this advocate that we should be using energy, and most people converting their cooking using stick and charcoal to LPG. That was when LPG KG was around 250, but it's above 1,000. So what's the assurance that if we get our vehicle converted to CNG, we will not be buying tomorrow. We will not wake up and be buying CNG at 1,500
Okay.
per kg. And again, the man that said we have a lot of LPG stations in case I think I also want to apply the first for that. We have only two. Probably the target other shops that are dispensing oil, the gas, or those outside the city. But in going to in the city, we really have to, because we mentioned,
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we still have to clarify the issue between LPG and CNG. But quickly, straight to the point of cost. Yeah, well, a good question you raised there. We started off and saying, let's go with LPG for cooking and others, and today it's way above so many people. So what's the guarantee that as soon as Nigerians key onto CNG, will not wake up and find that it's even costing higher than what PMS costs now?
Sure. But before I get to that, real quick, let me touch on this EV, because everybody's throwing EVs all over the place. I will give you quick numbers. If you go to ChatGPT, it's an AI tool, everybody knows that. If you type what is the average cost of electric vehicle in China, it'll probably give you $46,000. But let's assume we can get an electric vehicle for $10,000. That is not the case, but let's just say 10,000. You want to buy 100,000 there. Michael said there are 12 to 14 million vehicles. Let's assume we want to bring in 10,000, 100,000 today, right? That is $1 billion. $1 billion will convert 2 million CNG vehicles compared to 10,000. So EV, we're not even talking about the investment in electric infrastructure. EV is not it for Nigeria. And on this issue of LPG, most of the LPG we consume here is imported, right? One of the reasons why natural gas is cheaper than LPG is, one, it's more abundant, by far 10 times more abundant than LPG. Two, natural gas contracts are 10, 15, 20 years in duration. LPG, because it's liquid, is easy to store and transport. It's subjected to international pricing regime. You can buy an LPG today and hedge it, keep it in your tank, you decide not to sell it. Not natural gas. As it's being produced, you have to consume it. So natural gas is more abundant. Natural gas prices are 10, 15, in some cases 25 years term, so which gives you a stable, cheaper price than an LPG.
All right. Okay. So let's just keep the calls coming through. There was this issue I said I was going to return to. Okay, let's have Solomon, who's calling in from Port Harcourt. Solomon, go ahead.
Okay. I greet you all. My question is a very simple one. If CNG is derivable from the refinery or from the LNG company upon it, to what extent do we have the quantity that we go down? Because of the situation where we find ourselves, the situation whereby we cannot manage our existing refinery, and we are refining crude oil outside the country. For example, from Nigeria, and then we go back and we import it again into the country, thereby making the price to be higher. So what is our hope? That we are not going to run into the same error of selling the troublesome dog and then buying a white troublesome monkey. That is the scenario that is playing out now to this CNG. So my question goes to the Thank you very much.
Right, thank you so much, Solomon. And I think to put this into perspective is just first the source of CNG, because it's raised issues now that he's asking, is the CNG going to come from the refineries which are not working?
LPG comes from. So again, it's one of the key benefits actually of running on CNG or natural gas versus refined petroleum. In the best world scenario, and of course Nigeria is on the road to recovery with respect to our refineries, knock on wood, very soon, we'll reverse the current importation situation. But even in that perfect world scenario where we are refining all our crude oil, we should be exporting all our petroleum products and then using our gas. Again, we've said it before, Nigeria is a gas province that happens to have crude oil. So what we should be doing in that world is selling what the world requires, expensive, dirtier stuff, and keeping the cheaper, reliable, safer, and easy to process stuff. LPG is what you get from refineries, not CNG. CNG is natural gas. You derive it, it occurs naturally. You take it, you process it, and the processing is much more simpler. If I want to power a refinery, if I want to build a refinery to power 100,000 vehicles a day, that refinery will probably take, 30, 40 hectares of land. But this room can fit a CNG station that will power the same 100,000 vehicles a day. Why? When you get the natural gas off the ground, what you basically do is to dry it, strip it of impurities like mercury, and do a few decantation, and then it's good to use. And then you just compress it. So the processing, the facility, the complexity, the reason why CNG is cheaper is not because, we're just giving it away for free. No, it's just because it does not go through as much of a processing that you will diesel, petrol, or LPG. That's why it's cheaper. And so we will not have, and I hope we will not have a situation where we are run out of natural gas capacity, our ability as a country to process our natural gas.
Let me be clear, this is important.
Yes.
So again, if you Google how many natural gas processing plants we have in Nigeria, natural gas processing plant is the equivalent of an oil refinery. There are over 20 natural gas processing plants. With the conclusion of the flare gas commercialization and the sale of 48 flare sites, that's another 48 natural gas processing plants coming on, in addition to the planned 19-20 natural gas processing plants, or the equivalent of a refinery. How many refineries do we have today? 4 or 5? For the past 20 years. So natural gas infrastructure, this again is a fact, not an opinion, is a lot quicker to bring on board, and this can be confirmed with a simple Google prompt.
Well, Dr. Mohammed Bawa, I guess at this point we will come, because there's still a lot people are asking to know, and then this, understandably, the confusion between LPG and CNG. Everyone just assumes, well, it's a gas-powered vehicle, and naturally people are used to LPG, especially for cooking purposes. And of recent, we have seen some Nigerians convert, although this has been, well, people have had reservations about this, convert petrol generators and power them with LPG. And so everyone keeps thinking this is what they're talking about when you say CNG. So perhaps we would come in here.
Yes. Just like my fellow panelists have mentioned, CNG is derived from natural gas. As the name implies, natural gas. It's natural. There's no much work to be done to it. It's a very simple, natural phenomenon. All that needs to be done is filtration, titration, and compression. So, like PCNJ has mentioned, it doesn't take much, equipment-wise, financially, to get out natural gas to the state of consumption by vehicle. So that is why natural gas will always be cheaper, better, easier than fueling, petrol fueling. Additionally, like he has said also, Nigeria is actually a gas nation. So we have many, many more times natural gas availability than crude oil availability. And for that reason, natural gas is available, no issues. The issue that you just talked about, where people are now converting their generators to use LPG. Yes, it is doable and it is being done, but you will not have much savings converting to LPG, because LPG is derived from crude oil, which is a process that petroleum goes through, and that is why, like the man from Kebbi said, that we started LPG at a cheaper price, now it's skyrocketed, because they are associated, and there's the issue of dollar coming into play as well. So natural gas is just, it's a no-brainer, it's the way to go.
All right. Back to the phones, we have Godwin calling in from Ilorin. Hello, Godwin.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name is Mr. Godwin. I'm calling from Ilorin. Yeah, my question goes directly to Mr. Bawa. I'm a Bawa. I get in contact with him years back. We met in Ghana, in Abuja, Lagos. He's a very nice man. In fact, since I've been watching a program, basically I enjoy it.
Yes, what's the question?
Yes. The question is, how will I enroll in your own program as in training the next batch? How can I be one of one of the trainees? Because now I'm jobless. How can I put food on the table of my family through this program?
Godwin, thanks for your thanks for your question. We'll just take it from the premise of how can people, be trained for this process? Because if you go any further, I would have to ask you to see the marketing directorate. So,
right. What we do for training is, as we move, we train. So we've just done Abuja. When we're moving to Lagos from here, and then going to Kaduna. So as we move, we train the people in that environment.
If I might just ask, who can be trained on this initiative? Because you just said training. What background do people need to have to be able, to enroll and to be trained to be for conversion of petrol vehicles to CNG?
Yeah. I know Michael will add to that, but I'll just say in basic terms, we train everybody. But when I say everybody, for specific jobs. We train people who will be able to market, because you have to be able to tell people that there's a difference between LPG and CNG, just like we've been hearing people are confusing the issues. We have to be able to train people to know how to market this natural gas. It's a new thing, so it has to be, people have to be educated about it. Then there's, of course, the technicians and the mechanics. They'll all be trained, like I said. There'll be welding jobs to be done. They'll be trained on that facets. There'll be programming of the kits itself to achieve optimum utilization. That has to be done. And of course, the piping works and all that. So there is training in almost every facet for different dimensions.
Okay. Yes, let's hear you.
So I think there's a underlining issue that the caller brought up, which is the job creation capacity of utilizing our gas resources to power the transportation sector and of course the overall economy. The president has set up a goal for us that we have to have 1 million vehicles converted by year 2027. If we are going to do that, we'll need to have at least 1,000 conversion workshops set up to be able to get that work done. Each conversion workshop will employ between 5 and 15 persons. We estimate that we need about 25,000 technicians, not to talk about the marketers, not to talk about the support staff, not to talk even about the data entry team that will need to run through the compliance program that is being set up by the PCNGI. So the job creation potential of this is enormous, and we will get people trained in these different facets. Our partners like ABG is already taking the bold step forward to initiate some of these training. NITT is also doing the same, the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology. We have a few other partners, including NIPCO themselves. They're working with IPMAN. They're also doing training. So as these training programs get rolled out, people like Godwin in Ilorin will be able to benefit from that training and be able to be employed, either through one of our technical centers or in a marketing capacity, as the case may be.
So quickly, when you have these centers, people can go there and enroll or something like that. Otherwise, and as you said, just about anybody.
Yes. There's the tail, the value chain is long.
Even me, I can go.
You can get trained. Right. You're a great marketer. I think Doctor will have 1 or 2 use for you.
Okay.
Perhaps.
We have another caller from Adama. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, how are you? Okay, I was confused. Initially, when this program started, I learned that this program is coming to at least substitute PMS. That is, the cheaper it is. But when the program goes on, I heard of it, they are saying that the conversion is around 300 to 700. Okay, if the conversion is 3 to 700 in terms of money, so you just have to think. You just have to think at this program. When this program comes, at least the price should be higher than that of the PMS. And secondly, people are, this is a new program and people have been complaining about the issue of explosion. Is there any guarantee to customers? Maybe if along the road, if this explosion happens, customers, are they going to be compensated or something like that?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll go back to the basics and start again and explain the difference between CNG and LPG, the safety concerns that have been raised, and of course, what he has just mentioned, the cost of conversion. Thinking, wouldn't that now make it more expensive? But again, we'll let you do the explanation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mecca from Adamawa, for that excellent question about cost of conversion. First and foremost is to say that our program, like President has asked us to incentivize adoption. If you recall, I mentioned 3 mandates: incentivize, facilitate investment, and regulatory framework. As part of those incentives is the reason why we were funded under the palliative initiative, and we'll be providing succor to ensure that the cost of conversion, out-of-pocket expenses, is significantly reduced for those who want to convert once we launch our incentive program, which will happen in the next few weeks. In so doing, your out-of-pocket cost, the goal for us is to ensure that your out-of-pocket cost in cash is almost eliminated. There's a component of it that will be discount. There's going to be a component of it that will then be repaid slowly, however not upfront. So that way, you can drive your vehicle to a partner affiliate conversion workshop with that's affiliated with the PCNGI. You can get your vehicle converted, and there will be no immediate cash requirement out of the door. But there will be a recovery mechanism of part of the cost, not the full cost, for you slowly as you use CNG and you utilize CNG, and will make it affordable for all Nigerians. The goal here is that once you convert your vehicle and your vehicle is converted, you will realize very quickly that you'll be having savings of up to 60% every week. For the average Nigerian, that will mean they will be saving about 120 to 150,000 naira in a month. So even if the vehicle, the actual cost is, let's take the average, I gave you 300 to 750. So as a mathematician, that means the average is 525,000 naira. That will mean that if you have a saving of 125,000 to 150,000 in a month, you will break even in about 4 to 5 months. That will mean, assuming we are collecting that money from you upfront, but we're not even going to collect it upfront. And for you, over a period of time, you can recover, the vehicle is yours, and you continue to enjoy the benefit forever. You will see old vehicles, in the case of Benin, that have been converted since 2017, and folks are still enjoying it. Gentleman mentioned, he's been using his vehicle, first vehicle for 5 years, took the system and brought it into the new vehicle, and is still enjoying the benefit of reduced saving. Okay. So I can assure Nigerians that we will work very hard, working with Mr. President's initiative, to ensure that we reduce the upfront cost to Nigerians, we make the repayment period easy on the pocket, on the wallet, but even more importantly is that they will be able to enjoy that savings continuously and break even on the cost to them very quickly.
Right, Dr. Bama.
Yes, just to add to what Engineer Michael has said, we on the private sector have also been thinking about it. And what we've actually been able to achieve, we have a bank that we're working with. Okay. You do not have to put a penny down. Okay. They will fund the thing for you, and you pay over time.
Okay. Our next caller is from Yola. Taiwo calling in from Yola.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for staying with us. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Nigerians on this innovation. I'm so happy to watch this, to be part of this tonight. I'm a marketer, and I'm so interested at promoting this. I live in Abuja, but I've been speaking to people. If everywhere I have opportunity, when people complain of fuel, cost of fuel and all that, I tell them this CNG, they will ask me questions, but I don't have the full details. But I just have the knowledge that it's cheaper than fuel, it's more economical, then it supports the green energy. So, but I'm so happy to be part of this program tonight. And I would like to know how I can come around to get more details and even be an agent for the marketing and the promotion of the packages.
All right.
Secondly, I want to equally ask, can one, because I know there are about 3 stages of training, the marketing, the piping, and so on, other one. Can one individual learn all, and so that you can communicate the benefits and the opportunities more appropriately? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Taiwo. Well, back to Engineer Oluwagbemi.
Thank you very much. First, I want to say that information around this is available online about the program. So if you're interested in receiving more information, you can visit us on www.pci.gov.ng. That's the government website for the initiative. And on there, you can also leave us a message and we'll get back to you. There's also an active contact us helpline that we've launched for the program. And also, our social media handles is replete with active information, be it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram.
Right?
Yes. So I want to assure him that there's sufficient information sharing, an ongoing one. And we'll also be having stakeholder engagement sessions. We had one in November, we had one in December. I believe another will be coming up very soon. If it's opportune to be either in Abuja, in Lagos, in Kano, Kaduna, as we take these stakeholder engagement sessions on the road, it can be part of that, of those sessions. And this, because I believe a critical part of adopting a new technology, and maybe this comes from my own experience, not just in oil and gas, but also in the venture capital world, is that information sharing is the first place to go. And that is the reason why I want to also commend you for putting this together, because there's no better way for us to reach the Nigerian people but through this platform, the nation's public broadcasting platform, the NTA, that reach everywhere. There's no state in Nigeria that does not have a television station. So this engagement session that allows us to engage with someone like Taiwo Yola, who lives in Abuja, by the way, allows us to be able to get to the hearts and minds of people. First, assure them about the safety of this technology. And secondly, that the president is determined to provide this technology at an affordable price to all Nigerians, to ensure that we can be able to adopt this cheaper, cleaner, safer, and more reliable form of transportation.
And also, I'd like to add quickly, IPMAN recognizes that awareness is a critical part of driving adoption. So what we're finalizing is to set up CNG information booths across all IPMAN stations. They'll be passing out flyers depending on where that IPMAN station is. You have it in Hausa, in Urobo, in Shekiri, Igbo, etc. So we are finalizing the plans to do that. And recently, we also executed an agreement with AA Rado to another IPMAN member to co-locate CNG on 100 of their stations across the country. And I forgot to mention this part. So what most people don't know is that one of the costs that affects the price of petrol is diesel, right? Because when the Kano IPMAN member, or let's use Benin Kebbi, when the Benin Kebbi IPMAN member buys petrol from Lagos, they transport it on 1,300 naira liter diesel. So you can wake up today, diesel has gone up by more than 100% in the past 6 months, right? So the price of diesel also affects the final price of petrol. So what we are also doing with IPMAN is we're working with a few multilateral banks to provide access for IPMAN members to convert their over 150,000 trucks to CNG to help further reduce the price of petrol. And we started this last year. So IPMAN has been at the forefront of driving the CNG adoption. So again, on awareness campaign, we're working with IPMAN to put together information booths that will be located at every single IPMAN station in every single local government area across their network of 30,000 stations. You can go there and get hands-on education on the benefits of CNG.
All right, so far we've talked about the benefits, particularly in transportation, and this was deliberate, seeing that a lot of the challenges that have been faced today arise from the removal of the subsidy on petrol and the sky-high cost of transportation. But then CNG would not be just about powering cars and cars alone. We also have the matter of powering industry, and that's where I want you to come in at this point and talk about how this project will also bring down cost of manufacturing, because we're talking of energy here, which is so very expensive at this time?
Yes, the good thing about CNG is its application beyond just transportation. Of course, even directly speaking, if you bring down the cost of transportation for most manufacturing companies because of the logistics of their inputs, you naturally impact the cost of manufacturing. But beyond this, the reality also is that CNG is also quite utilizable for power, especially power for islanded manufacturing plants. We saw in the case of Maiduguri that the city has been running on CNG occasioned by the power plants that were set up by the NNPCL. After, of course, the grid power has been knocked down, unfortunately, by the terrorist group that have been operating in the northeast region for a minute. But CNG provides that immediate succor because, again, high amount of energy can be bottled and moved over long distances and delivered to the power plant site and provide a cost-effective way to provide power. And a lot of manufacturing plants, industrial estates can also leverage on the CNG supply that will be available for mobility. I give a case in example. I was engaged with the Ekiti state government that just opened an IPP plant of 5 megawatts in Ekiti. But they are trying to also now find additional sources of supply for CNG. And now they are waiting for us on the mobility side, taking advantage also of the fact that Ekiti also hosts the NITT and the Nigerian Auto Development Council conversion sites, to say once our program brings in conversion and CNG availability, the state IPP that powers hospitals and universities and manufacturing industrial clusters, as well as government buildings, can also have a reliable source of CNG supply. So the benefits of this program will not just be seen in transportation, but also will have impact in the energy, specifically in manufacturing side. But even more interestingly is the benefit for the transportation and the automotive sector. Nigeria over time will begin to develop competence, will begin to build hybrid vehicles in country. All the companies that are bringing in CNG platforms are manufacturing them in country, assembling them in country under our program. These companies will begin to build the capacity to develop hybrid CNG, biofuel, CNG PMS, which are biofuel vehicles, and we'll start exporting it not just to our neighbors, but across Africa, because we are signatory to the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, and that is good for our automotive sector that can employ millions of Nigerians. At the end of the day, our transition from PMS to gas through CNGs, this CNG program, will have the bottom line effect of job creation for all Nigerians. And that will be in manufacturing, that will be in automotive, that will be in transportation, that will be in energy, production, supply, development, processing. And so the impact of these really will be multiplying effect. And that's the reason why it's a good bang for the buck in terms of the investment of the federal government in this, because the impact is going to be multiple.
Right. Let me come to Brian on this matter. And I choose to call this the economics of it.
Sure.
We're talking here about the investment and the infrastructure required. Yes, the benefits are numerous, but then you need to start somewhere. And the initial investment is what I'm looking at, the expansion of this, and of course the principles of when people get to know of the benefits, there will be a very high demand, an increase in demand, and you know what they say about demand and supply.
Sure. So I actually forgot to address one of the questions that the caller from Port Harcourt asked, and that is, once people start enjoying this cheap CNG, will the price go up like every other thing? I forgot to add, we flare 1 billion scoff of gas today, right? Flare means we waste 1 billion standard cubic feet of gas today. To provide the equivalent of 10 liters of petrol to 1 million vehicles, you will have to produce 330 million scoff of gas a day. So less than a third of what we flare can provide 10 liters of petrol equivalent to 1 million vehicles. So gas is not the problem. Another question on infrastructure. So natural gas is the most difficult hydrocarbon to store and transport. It's one of the reasons why oil and gas producers want you to sign long-term agreements, right? You can wake up today and order 50 million liters of petrol and probably have it delivered, or 50,000 tons of LPG and have it delivered, but to go and order 2 billion scoff of gas, it's not going to happen. It will take 2-3 years, right? And as we know, a lot of the IOCs are leaving the country. Investment in natural gas is dollar denominated. Most of the equipment that is required to process natural gas is in US dollars. You have to pay for it. So part of why we also, one of the a million benefits of working with IPMAN, again, I mentioned scale. So when you go to an oil and gas producer that you want to build 2 CNG stations, you need 2 million scoff a day. It's of no interest to them, because for them to drill for gas, the cheapest they have to, the least amount of money they have to spend is probably $30 to $50 million just to sink one well to produce, and they would want to produce sufficient gas to be able to pay for that well. So volume is critical in driving investment in the supply side. We don't have a lot of gas. IPMAN, again, by virtue of their numbers, by virtue of the investment they already have, which provides the lowest capex to deploying CNG, will provide the best support and justification for oil and gas investors to start looking at drilling more wells to produce the gas. So the supply chain needs to respond to a market, and preferably a market that is big enough to justify investment in that, in bringing up the gas.
Okay. So with this explanation that you're giving us now, we are expecting huge investments in this initiative, and from what you have seen so far, I'd like to say, like some of the callers have said, yes, you've explained why there is what looks like a slow start to it all. But again, Nigerians want a quick way out of the current pains. They're going to be looking and say, look, okay, this initiative is good, but how long is it going to be before we begin to see the fruits here? And this takes us back to the question of investment in the infrastructure, apart from what the federal government is bringing in and you're partnering with the private sector.
Yes. We will begin to see natural gas, CNG-driven mass transit vehicles in Nigeria in the next 4 to 5 months. And naturally speaking, they will also then be able to pass on some of their savings to the members of the public. Because at the end of the day, the president is concerned about the common man, who depends largely on mass transit and ride shares to be able to convey from one point to the other. We will be able to start delivering conversion at a cost-effective rate in the next 60 to 90 days as the conversion kits begin to come in country and we launch our incentive program. We will be able to start doing significant training that will begin to open up job opportunities to Nigerian youth in the next 30 to 45 days. These are benchmark milestone commitments that this administration is making, of course, through the initiative. But beyond that is that these benefits I'm mentioning will be persistent and will be sustainable because there's been significant planning. There's been significant touch points with the private sector to ensure that it is sustainable. Because it's a different thing. If I tell you, oh, I'm preparing you a dish, and then after you finish that dish, then there's no food anymore. In this instance, we are saying there's a dish on the table, there's food to serve, but it will be persistent. And that's because we have done careful planning. We've synchronized a lot of these with the private sector. We hosted an investor summit in December, and the private sector is already doing investments. This is not people are building, as I speak with you, plants, manufacturing plants, here in Abuja, in Lagos, to be able to do assembly and setting up CNG hybrid vehicles and biofuel vehicles. People are investing in conversion centers. People are investing in refueling stations. One IPMAN member just committed about $2.5 million to bring in 10 MRUs to set up refueling stations in country. People are investing in daughter stations. So it's not government just saying, we will do, we are doing. We're already seeing, I think I mentioned that our quick win between the months of November and December was launching convention centers with partners across the country and increased investment inflow into that segment. Those are creating jobs. Those convention centers are real. My CNG app will be up and running in a few weeks, where you can be able to identify where these convention centers are nearest to you. And you can get information in real time from our website, as I already mentioned. Contact center is open. But Nigerians will have to understand that as we're doing this, it's not a one-time benefit. The president is committed to a long-term program. That's why he has set off for us a very clear goal. 1 million vehicles by 2027 and even more thereafter. That 1 million vehicles will save Nigeria $3 billion a year in PMS importation or PMS use. That's a replacement, which also invariably also strengthens the Nigerian currency. So the impact of this is a long chain. But of course, some careful planning has gone on, and we'll be continue to ensure we roll out the program in a steady manner to ensure that all Nigerians benefit from it.
All right, let's come to the IPMAN president, Shetima.
Okay, so let me just clear ourselves. We independent petroleum marketers, we are supporting the Mr. President program on this CNG 100%. Why? Because the program, it will bring a lot of relief to our members. One, after we constructed the daughter station and the Moza station, is additional income to us. That is a profit margin. And then again, we construct the combustion center again in our filling station. Because already we have the filling stations, just what we need, we do the daughter station inside the filling station and the combustion center. So it's an advantage to us, we independent petroleum marketers. That is the reason why immediately when Mr. President brings this program, we have been following the program and supporting the program up to the present date. Okay. So on the issue of the filling stations for LPG, I think the people that are talking about the LPG filling station, there is what we call the ad hoc LPG. So maybe when they are counting the numbers of filling stations, they don't normally consider the ad hoc. Ad hoc, normally we do it inside the filling station. It's a small quantity of 5,000 kg. We put inside our filling station and start selling. So that is the reason why you see in most of the places when you go, most of the independent petroleum marketers filling station had that LPG ad hoc in their filling station. And that is the reason why you have been seeing the availability of this product. Likewise, if this CNG become fully, definitely you will see all our filling stations nationwide will have, and the CNG too will be available nationwide.
All right. Well, let's go to Dr. Mohammed Bar for his closing comments as we prepare to wind down.
Okay. I want to reassure Nigerians from the private sector angle that CNG has come to stay, as has been mentioned by the PCNGI director. People are investing already, private sector, doing investment. We have done some investments of recent. And we also want to commend government, because government has taken some steps that has made us even to review our prices for the conversion kits. Issues of import duty and VAT has been adjusted, which has made it cheaper for us to bring in the goods, and we have thereby transferred that benefit to the public. Okay. So that is basically what I want to say, and people should please feel at home. It is the safest means of fueling. Okay. They should go and rest about that.
And the training continues.
And the training continues. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Brad.
Well, thank you again for arranging this panel. Is important to pass the message to Nigerians that the government has good intentions as far as delivering affordable and accessible energy for transportation. And just like Doctor said, the private sector, specifically IPMAN, is poised, because this problem is not a 200 stations solution. It requires 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 station solution. It requires 5,000, 10,000 conversion centers, and IPMAN stands poised to work with PCNGI to deliver this to the benefit of Nigerians.
Right. Well, thank you. And just to round off in a couple of seconds.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. Folks have indicated they have questions. They can call our helpline, 0700 0000 CNG. The last CNG is 264. So it's very easy. 0700 000 CNG 264. Right. And then with 264. Thank you.
Right. So thank you very much. And this is where we must leave the conversation. I always say no one program can cover it all. And I would like to thank our guest, Engineer Michael Uluagwimi. He is the Program Director of Presidential CNG Initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'd like to say big thank you to Abubakar Maigandi Shetima, President of IPMAN. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Mohammed Baha, Managing Director, ABG Oil and Gas Limited. We thank you for being here. And big thanks also to Brian Amono, MD, Gas Analytics and Solutions Limited. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And for all of you who contributed and who called in to ask questions and avail us of your suggestions on the program, we say thank you to you too. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.